We remember when Portia Simpson, right, has to use certain austerity measures, and so then he has to use certain money from NHT, right, to catch up the budget. And where the Jamaica Labour Party went against that, tried to tear down Portia Simpson. Tear down Portia Simpson. But look, people, what Andrew Holness, Nigel Clarke has now done with SSL.
So this is dated January 24, 2023. NHF and NHT, which is National Health Fund and the National Housing Trust, among public bodies with funds invested in scandal hit SSL. Several public bodies have significant sums invested at the fraud hit Stocks and Securities Limited. Finance Minister Dr. Clarke has revealed. Clarke made the revelation Monday during a press conference to address the unfolding fraud at the investment firm, which has affected dozens of investors, including national icon Usain Bolt, whose account has reportedly been fleeced of $12.75 million US dollars, or approximately Jamaican $2 billion. The massive multi-billion fraud is the biggest in the last 2 decades and perhaps the largest in Jamaica's history. Clarke, in response to questions from reporters, shared that the National Health Fund has a balance of approximately $740 million. The National Housing Trust has a balance of $238 million. The NIF, which is the National Insurance Fund, has a balance of $8.4 million. The Jamaica Agricultural Society has a balance of just under $9 million. And the Jamaica Banana Industry Catastrophe Fund has a balance of $98,285. This is the information that has been provided to me by the temporary manager of SSL, Clarke says. SSL is the second oldest brokerage firm in Jamaica with more than 9,000 accounts, with 6,000 of which are set to be active. The securities dealer has approximately 300 accounts and private wealth management.
Now we have seen Nigel Clarke, right? Yeah. Now, as according to him, going to the IMF. But we have seen the Prime Minister, as it relates to the Integrity Commission report, and how the Prime Minister uses his company as it relates to so-called charity, right? Channeling money through, right, his company, but then pocket it or converted it to his personal use. Not only the Prime Minister had done that. So what I want to show Jamaica in this twist, that Nigel Clarke seems to be running away from other things. Let us get back to, again, one of the best investigators in the Caribbean, Zara Burton, who take a peep into Nigel Clarke. So then we're going to see some patterns, a very similar behavior with Nigel Clarke, so-called charity foundation. And you're going to see other patterns with other member of parliament, possibility of the other illicit, right, persons for illicit enrichment, members of parliament, who the Integrity Commission, taking out companies, utilizing it as charity, and converting the money to their personal use, using the Jamaican people. Let us get into Nigel Clarke. Jamaica's Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clarke, used a tax-exempt charity for political purposes. And can he? The question asks. Now, last month, Jamaica Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke won praise for the country's removal from the international grey list of the Global Watchdog Financial Action Task Force. For the past 4 years, he had been the ministerial point person on enhancing the country's counterterrorism financing and anti-money laundering regime, including getting Parliament to pass legislation to strengthen monitoring of the nation's non-profit sector. And in the meantime, hypocritically, look on what he has been doing. Here is Nigel Clarke. Hypocritically, right? Enhancing the country's counterterrorism financing and anti-money laundering regime, including getting Parliament to pass legislation to strengthen monitoring of the nation's non-profit sector. And in the meantime, look what is happening. But an 18 Degrees North probe has found that Dr. Clarke's own tax-exempt charity deserves scrutiny. My. This is the hypocrite of the day. His Growth and Opportunity Trust Limited, set up to serve his Northwest St. Andrew constituency by providing relief of property and to promote the advancement of good citizenship and community development, right? That is what he set up the fund for. Has raised more than $91 million, 631,000 US dollars, 644 in donations from unexplained sources between its inception in 2018 and 2023. It's also spent about $84 million, 581,460 over that same time period, with little indication as to how that money was spent. So there is no proof, right? Nowhere that investigation show that all the money that go into Nigel Clarke so-called charity foundation and where he put it up, relief of poverty. This is how they manipulate the poor people, collecting money on behalf of the poor people, but they are not seeing 1 cent. The money is converting to their personal use. I want people to understand what I'm reading here. Over that same time period, with little indication as to how that money was spent. Of note is that the foundation 2 most lucrative halls occurred during election years, according to the foundation financial file at the company's office beginning in January 2023. So some of these charities, as related to Nigel Clarke, Andrew Holness, and the other illicit members who we don't know, right? Some of those charities that they are setting up, also you don't know who are the persons who are funding these charity. I want to show you, right, this barcode scale of the income and expenditure of the Growth Opportunity Trust right here. Notice 2018, how much gone into the trust? $27.8 million. Here it is, people. 2018. And this was when Nigel Clarke, right, is doing his campaign. So what we are seeing here, people, let me let you understand it. There's a large amount of money, $27.8 million during Nigel Clarke campaign in 2018, right? But after the campaign, people, what you notice, it dies down. You see like 15.5 million in 2019, 8.2 million, right? 10.3 million. But look again, people, when the election coming again in 2020, what we see happen here, during the COVID, people, Andrew Holness and Nigel Clarke during the COVID, these things are happening during the COVID. Andrew Holness and Nigel Clarke, look what happened. $35.3 million get into Nigel Clarke Charity 2020. This was the election. So 2018 was the election, was Nigel Clarke campaign to get into Parliament. 2020 was the general election where $35.3 million went into Nigel Clarke Charity Foundation. And see, when there is no election, 2021, 1.6, it dropped to 5.8, a little in 2022, right, 9.7 2020, in 2023, 15.3, 12.3, right, 2023. Now, this is what we are talking about. In 2018, the year Dr. Clarke was first elected to Parliament in a special election, the foundation took in roughly $28 million, or $198,196, which sank to just over about $8 million, or in US dollars, 56,854 in 2019. In 2020, the year of the general election, donations shot up again, surpassing $35 million, or in US dollars, 244,349. They plunged again in 2021 and 1.6 billion. When we look and see as it relates to money go into the Prime Minister so-called charity foundation, and where the evidence as it relates to the investigation of the Integrity Commission investigators found out that, okay, these money that put into the Prime Minister charity foundation had now been misappropriated, embezzled, right, and converted to the Prime Minister's own personal use. It's now in the Prime Minister's personal account, bank account. Think of what I'm saying to you people. Now, here is Nigel Clarke, that we see that Nigel Clarke also a charity foundation. And what is happening? What is happening to it? Right? Who are the persons who are funding, putting money into these as it relates to Nigel Clarke? Who are they? Right? And so then jobs, barons could be pushing money into Nigel Clarke Charity Foundation. One thing is for sure, that Nigel Clarke Charity Foundation, in his 2018 campaign, a lot of money pushed into that. 2020, for the general election, again, a lot of money, up to $35 million, pushed into that. Now, and based on Nigel Clarke and Andrew Holness, you will never able to get the identity of these persons who are funding these campaigns.